It's showtime, and we are live. We are live. We are live. What's up, people? This is your man Eddie Precise Lamar from Rolling Out Fame. MC. Wow, is that my music in the background? Oh wow! So that's me in the background. Uh, Man, we are here for a purpose today. As you can see, I have a couple brothers on the screen with me right now, and I'll introduce them in a second. Uh, the last few months have been tumultuous. Um, a virus has attacked us. Essentially, we thought it was attacking everybody. Then all of a sudden, it started attacking us. Um, the police are attacking us, uh, and now we find ourselves in a place where the relationship that we have with our families are crumbling, starting with our partner, the Black woman. The main reason why I created this forum and this panel, specifically with these gentlemen, first off, because I respect them highly and they have a lot to offer, but really so we can start addressing all of these issues when it comes to dealing with protecting our Black woman, building a strong family, dealing with our mental health, and all of these things. So if you're tuned in tonight, thank you. And we're really set up for a real robust conversation. So the first person I'd like to introduce is Marquin McDonald. He's a husband, a father of four, a self-defense instructor, owner of Quantum Martial Arts and Fitness, and Quantum Tactical, and he's also a mentor. Welcome, Marquin. Welcome.
Peace. Thank you for having me.
Definitely. Also, next we have Andre C. Russell. He's the CEO, founder of the Smith Center of Community Advancement. It's a virtual community center. He's a behavior interventionist at Learn Hunter Perkins Charter School, co-creator of Young Kings Club, an after-school male mentoring club, and basically a brother who cared. Also, who we have is Isaac Paul. Now, Isaac Paul is a dynamic moderator with a talent for driving content and provoking thoughtful discussion. Isaac Paul has recalibrated Chicago's understanding of gender relations with highly engaging and very interactive discussions. He is the creator and host of Tequila Tales. It's been running for the past 7 years. If you ever had a chance to go, wow. If you never had a chance to go, you got to go. The most beautiful women and the most thought-provoking conversations ever. And if you are following him on Facebook, if you ever get a chance, check out his Uber stories. They're the most engaging and the most exciting. Also got the brother. I don't think he's on just yet. But yeah, we also have TJ Crawford in the building. As soon as he's on, we'll spit his bio for him. But man, brothers, thank you so much for coming out today. Thank you so much.
Yes, pleasure. Thank you.
I just want to kind of jump into this. We talked about what kind of led to this conversation and why it's important as Black men that we come together to bring this to the forefront. One of the main things that I wanted to touch on specifically is this idea of toxic masculinity. Just the first question I want to toss out there is, what do you think is the root cause of toxic masculinity specific to Black men? And anyone can take that.
Well, it's a lot of layers to that, because I've only just heard of the concept of toxic masculinity less than 3-4 years ago. It's somewhat new to me. Not saying that that hasn't been around, but the concept was new. But the more I dug into it, deeper, I find that it's laced in a lot of different things. I mean, you can go into systemic oppression, segregation, patriarchy, sexism, arrogance, ignorance, definitely ego, and hurt feelings. It's a lot of stuff going on that that we as men sometimes didn't realize we were putting out there unless somebody brought it to our attention, and then we thought about they were tripping. But the older we got and the more educated we are, we realize that this is definitely a crisis and something that we have to address, and we can't minimize. We can't blow it off. So we have to deal with it. So when someone addresses this, we have to, acknowledge it. But the core is like layers, out of everything. Oppression, how we got here.
Definitely. I want to take this moment to introduce TJ Crawford, who just came on the panel. TJ Crawford is a product of Chicago life. He is a Chicago-born hip-hop brother who's all about community. He's responsible for the launch and ongoing management of Rolling Out, who I'm writing for from the year of 2000 to 2004. He co-founded the National Hip Hop Political Convention, the People President Campaign Mix CD for the 2004 election. He just recently got his graduated with his master's degree in social work from Chicago State University. I've worked with TJ on so many different projects. He's a leader, he's an organizer, and I want to thank him for being here. And since we just gave you that big, great introduction, TJ, the question is to you. What do you think is the root cause of toxic masculinity in Black men?
Probably the system that we exist within a capitalist, hyper-masculine society, and we have, in our attempts as a whole, in our attempt to be accepted into this system, we have adopted a lot of the customs and behaviors of American culture. So I think that in our quest to identify and claim our manhood, we grab onto those things or the ways in which the world defines men. And oftentimes, a lot of that is very toxic and degrading to women. And really ourselves, actually. It doesn't allow us to be fully human. But I'm sure that's something that we can address as we move further down the line.
For sure. Isaac, if you could touch on that for a moment.
I can. And I was wondering if it was too early for me to start playing the role of devil's advocate, and not intentionally, but I sometimes do that with deals. And I don't even know if this is too much me being devil's advocate, but I think maybe about a year and a half ago, I started pushing back against that word, right? Toxic masculinity, because words have so much power, and I understand our need to rebrand at times, right? But I've never heard of the terminology toxic femininity, right? We've had other terms for toxic masculinity in the past. They've been called misogynist, in some cases assholes, right? Like, I mean, there's a bunch of other names that we've had, but now the pairing of toxic and masculinity, to me, I've never heard a description that I felt required a new definition that had to be paired up with masculinity, right? And I'm not even that guy that says, masculinity is under attack, but there are times where I do start to feel like, to a degree, mildly it is, right? Because we're in this space where we're trying to redefine what it means to be a man. I think everybody is going through a rebranding phase, as it relates to, what does it mean to support your spouse? What does it mean to, be a leader in your community? What does it mean to be independent, right? And we're all trying to figure it out. But like when we start to group those words together, toxic and masculinity, like I've never heard of masculinity probably in the last maybe 5-10 years spoken about positively. I think that what'll end up occurring if we're not careful is we start to brand masculinity as a bad thing, right? Like, because even though we're saying toxic masculinity, the two words start to group together, right? Kind of like protest rioters and looters, right? Like when you put all three of them together, eventually it just becomes snap, crackle, and pop, right? It's all cereal. You don't distinguish the difference between the two. And I do start to feel like that term is taking on a new meaning, to whereas it's making us sometimes as men question what, and I'm not gonna go as far as saying what's appropriate, but just like what being a real man is, if or if that's even a thing anymore. And so I know I might have just answered your question with the question, but like I said, I mean, if we talk about what misogyny is or what does it mean to be a chauvinist, then I could probably give more clarity as it relates to that. But to me, toxic masculinity, that feels like a moving goalpost, and it depends on who's using it and what the indictment is going to determine whether or not you fit inside that category.
Of course. Quinn, let me get you to touch on that. You're muted, Quinn. Unmute your mic.
Sorry about that. I'm used to doing that with because I got children. So I think that has been answered already. I can't add to it. I will say this: I struggle with the term, because I'm one that believes that, I've been always taught that you could have too much water would kill you, and not enough of it can kill you. So, so with that same thing, that's with anything, everything in moderation. That means everything has to have a balance. So as I recognize the divine masculine, I should always be in mind of the divine feminine. And if I'm one that I've seen many people look at femininity as a curse word, and they exude this type of behavior, this toughness, if you will, and they call it masculine, and sometimes it can be a little overboard. So I would take that when I heard the term toxic masculinity. I would always put that in mind of those individuals who was just, man, I gotta be tough every day. I gotta be hard all the time. You know what I mean? I don't hold teddy bears. You know what I mean?
All day, on the drive, by myself.
My daughter come to me with the teacup. What you talking about? Right. I'm a masculine man, but like seriously, that's the thing that I think of. So I'm not gonna say it doesn't exist, but I do think that definitely needs to be examined, because what I will say, when it comes to us, when it comes to black men in particular, it's almost, when we speak about masculinity, it's almost like a curse word. Like it's almost like it's something that we ain't supposed to talk about and something we're not supposed to be. So I will, it has to be examined for real.
So let's examine that then. So with that, and this is out to the room, what does it mean to you to be a man? And again, I want to be very specific. What does it mean to you to be a black man? Anybody can go.
I mean, simply put, there's so many different ways to look at it, but for me as a black man is to be upstanding, positive, protective, things of that nature, strong when you need to be, strong when you have to be. Definitely, as far as the household and the family dynamic, you should be the anchor, much as possible. That's why I look at, people like, Mark Quinn, who I know as a dad, and what he does and what he stands for and everything like that. So for the most part, I look at it for the positive traits, and I acknowledge the negative traits, but I don't give them strength. I don't give them power, because you can change those attitudes and those issues. So like everybody said, when everybody started talking about toxic masculinity, I honestly was confused about the topic. Like, is it wrong to be a man? Like, what is it? What part is toxic in masculinity? Is it the part what Quinn said, your idea of, playing with, your kids or doing certain things, is that considered soft? Is that considered whatever? And who determines that? No, I'm playing with my daughter. It is what it is. You're not gonna come in here and punk me over that. That's that's the conversation. So it goes a lot of different ways. For me, it's always been about being a role model, learning from my people and then giving back, being a man that's taking care of your responsibilities as best as you can. Everybody can't always do everything, but at least they trying. I want them to try, and step up to the plate when you need to be. Everybody don't do that. It's not about making babies. It's not about having money. It's not about none of the machismo, which is different than masculinity. The machismo is a little bit something extra. So take that out of the equation, and then you have what I see right here with these brothers right here. I consider you all masculine individuals.
Word. Now, with that, thank you for that. With that, I want to take a moment to introduce one of our newer panelists. Disco poet Kahari B is a prominent, boisterous voice in the artist community of Chicago. He has traveled the world with his free-spirited approach, honest wordplay, and a piercing truth. For the past 10 years, Kahari B has shared his expression at the Debauchery Ball. And excuse me, this is the award-winning Debauchery Ball, which is an award for a documentary. So I want to bring Kahari in. Kahari, thank you so much for showing up.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for everybody.
Oh, no problem, brother. And since you're here, we're going to toss the ball in your court, and we're talking about what does it mean to you to be a black man.
I think that has. I was going to say I think it's changed over the years somewhat, but that would kind of be a lie. It hadn't changed. The people changed, not what it means to be who we are. We out of necessity. We have to be stronger and better and more intelligent and more considerate and more strategic than anybody else in being a simple human being, right? Like in terms of our survival, in terms of our relationship with our women, in terms of how we raise our children, that we've had to be, twice as much for half the result. We've always had to be that. We're not necessarily that by the masses anymore. That's why it looks like the definition has changed, but the definition didn't change. These guys have changed, and they're not living up to that definition. We have been more divine in our time, and that's what conversations like this kind of, to me, is about. Guiding one another to get back to that divine station that we occupy in this world.
Definitely. Isaac, if you could touch on that real quick.
I really agree with what he just said in terms of, because as he was talking, and even just when you first asked the question, where my mind was going is, if we talk about what it means to be a black man, or if we're talking about the branding of a black man, right? Like, because those are two totally different things. And I think that in this new space that we're in right now, we're starting to, again, redefine and kind of push the boundaries, because my interpretation of a black man or my experience as a black man may not be all inclusive, right? Like, I think that we've always been considered a monolith for a while, and we were talking about that. It's funny how synonymous black man is with toxic masculinity, and I think that's why I've kind of pushed back, right? Because you think black man and you think black exploitation, right? You think Shaft, you think the extra tough guy that's John Turkey. I don't take none of this nonsense. That is how we've been seen, right? Like for so many years, and now we're starting to open up and understand that a black man could be a part of the LGBTQ community, right? It could be trans, and for many of us, that's making our heads explode, and to be honest, rightfully so, because when you grow up your first 20, 30, 40 years and media is pushing you this, the women that you're dating is pushing this. And then even just like Kari just said, how we survive in these streets, right? Because that's something that I was watching, me and my colleagues, we had a podcast the other day. We were talking about how walking into a store, and I saw it echoed in this this YouTube thing. It was called Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man, and he was talking about how cognizant we have to be of things that other people don't have to be of, right? Like if you're walking, if you're on an elevator and it's just you and a white woman, you kind of hope that you're getting off before she does, right? Because in the back of your mind, all right, if I don't push the button first before she does, is she gonna think I'm trying to follow her, or you walk out of a store and you just maybe didn't see anything that you wanted to buy, and all of a sudden you feel guilty. There's something internally that makes you feel like, damn, are they gonna think I stole something because I just walked up out of here? And you know what I mean? Like it's this constant self-awareness and because of, we are aware that there's a target on our back, and there always has been a target on our back, so it's like, how can I be accommodating to the entire world, but still be macho at the same time. I can't cry, you know what I'm saying? But then show my feelings, right? Like it's like so that's why it's so wild. So right now, being a black man is like a big question mark, right? Like, and it's almost like hopefully we can grow to a point where being a black man is just being. You know, we can have that same type of liberty that white men or Asian men feel, where it's like I can just be who I am. You know, if I'm feminine, cool. If I'm athletic, cool. If I'm, you know what I mean? Like I'm hoping that there's a point where we can grow to that, but I don't think our branding is there yet, though. I think we are still steeped in the past.
You know, I'm glad that you say that. And you see what Miss Gotta Be Me, Leisha Marie, she mentions. I understand the black man's plight, but I believe a lot of our black men are broken. One of the reasons why, and I can agree with that, and I can also say that I don't think we're celebrated enough. And I'm not saying outside of ourselves. I mean, I don't think that we as men celebrate each other enough.
Yeah.
How do you think we can move into a space where we start doing that more? And how does celebrating celebrating a black man look like? I'm gonna toss that out to you, Quinn.
Well, one, I think we need to just start with having basic conversations with one another, and just finding the courage to speak power into each other. I know with the circle that I'm a part of, they celebrate me and I celebrate them all the time. Andre just celebrated. Andre just gave me a compliment a second ago. You know, that boosts my confidence in being a father. That boosts my confidence in being a family man and a husband. That those things help. You know, we just gave, when you mentioned Kahari, we was like, yo, you know, when you mentioned, you know, the now award-winning debauchery balls, all those things, it really is that simple. I know some people may not think it is, but I celebrate my brothers all the time. Some of the brothers that, you know, there's brothers watching right now. We celebrate each other almost every night when we go on patrol. And we talk to each other and we build with each other. We actually counsel each other, you know, and that's where it starts. And to be perfectly real, I think it's also self-accountability within inside self. Yes. We got to get past that ego within inside ourselves and stop thinking it's soft to be like, yo, bro, I love you, man.
Right.
I started forcing myself and I started texting my guys. I remember a couple of my guys like, yo, you all right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Like, I'm just want to say I love you, bro. And then all of a sudden it became habit and I'm feeling better with that. And now I'll be like, oh, my man's right there. A lot of people think that's feminine. And that may be a part of that energy. But we got to remember that resides with both energies reside within us.
Yeah.
So, you know, we got to start that healing process of self-accountability and then go outward towards our brothers and be like, what's up? And understand that who we are is all good. I'm great at what I do. I'm good at what I do. I'm my worst and biggest critic. But the minute I acknowledge the greatness inside myself as well as the negative, I can start acknowledging that in my brothers and being like, yo, bro, I love you, bro. Good stuff, man. Yo, man, hey, I see what you're doing. And believe it or not, a lot of brothers do that now. You know, when we talk to each other, be like, I'm trying to be like you. You know what it is. You know, a lot of brothers do that now. You know? Right. And what it does is it builds up your confidence. We see so many images through media. We hear the conversations. We read what's going on and hear what's going on all over. And we, black men, I'm going to be real. My wife and I had a discussion. She said she didn't really pay attention to it. But she was like, yo, y'all really, like, she understands it. But she was just like, yo, y'all really under attack. Like, for real. Like, the stress you got to be. I'm telling you, I'm here. I'm a provider for my family. I'm a husband. I work for my family. I built the business, and I still think that I'm not enough. I still battle with that because of what society has projected and the narrative they put out there on what it is to be a black man. I still think I'm not enough. So I have to battle with that every single day. And when I know that my brothers is bigging me up, it helps me lift my chest and my head a little bit more.
Yes, sir.
It feel good. You know what I'm saying? So I hope I made sense with that.
I want to add this. Like, there's this, because you mentioned the film. I say something in the film where I'm talking to. They catch me. I'm talking to a group of my students, and I say every time that we walk out the doors, and I mean that for men and women. I don't like making that this division when it's not necessary. We are Black people or Africans in America, and that which affects one affects the other side. But when we walk out of the door every day, there's an entire world out there waiting to tell us that we ain't shit. Just can't wait for us to take one step out that door. So every time we step out, we either have to have that community around us to circumvent, to contradict, to build us up, or we have to be that for ourselves. It's part of why that event even exists. It's just to allow us to come out without the outside world in and just celebrate being. One of us, I think it was Isaac, said, just for us to just be, not to be man, to be woman, to be educated, just friggin' be. And it's so necessary. And I realized, like Q, I realized that long time ago. I gotta tell my brothers I love them. I gotta tell my sisters I love them. I gotta give them compliments on a regular basis, not because I'm soft or sweet or I'm trying to pander for some ass. It's because we just need to hear that like every friggin' day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, Trey, your beard game is so freaking strong. Your beard game is that like he digs that. He's like, yeah, word.
That's easy. I want to do it. I want to hold my hands down. You know, I want to hold my hands down. So I'll be like y'all when I grow up.
I can't grow one, so forget y'all because I can't grow one.
It just means something. It means something to build us up because the entire world and even those within us are so quick to tell us how nothing we are, and we gotta be about building each other to be more, so that the problems that we have inside the house are shored up outside of the house, right?
Definitely. You know, I'm really glad that we are in a space now, specifically this group, where we understand what the benefit is of celebrating each other and just providing that boost to one another so we can take it to the next level. I want to kind of rewind a little bit and go back to touch on that toxic element that we were speaking of earlier. Now, growing up, you know, we touched on this a little bit. Growing up, what did you learn about women that you discovered as an adult that is totally toxic right now?
Everything. Everything. You learn. It's such to a degree now. I was just talking to one of my boys I went to high school with in college, and basically like, you know, a lifelong friend. And we was talking about some of the things that we did back in Chicago State that, you know, man. No, I was like, man, like you talk about debauchery. I'm talking about, man, like, I'm glad there's a statute of limitations of me just being able to just know what all the stuff that you used to do and know that that's an old you, that you're never going back to that. Mm-hmm. But you have to acknowledge that it happened and that you had that mentality where you was like, when I didn't understand the gravity of catcalling until I was an adult, older adult. And then I heard my female friends, my sisters say, you know, talked about how it made them feel and everything like that. And I had to sit back like, damn, you know, like we used to do that back in the day. Like, damn, I don't do it now. You know, whatever, but you just acknowledge your growth. But it's a lot. And you just didn't know, you know, you just didn't know, you know, and now you do know. I'm glad that I'm better. And I'm glad that the people that I hang around are better and we don't, you know, rock like that. But man.
Hey, do y'all remember that game? I don't know if y'all remember this game because I'm a man of a certain age. But do y'all remember playing Catch a Girl, Kiss a Girl?
I knew exactly where he was going. When you said you remember that game, I said he about to say it.
Right, I did. Right, I thought the same.
How totally ridiculous is that as a grown? Imagine that.
Okay, so wait a minute. So I want to tap in on this because
Okay.
this is one of the questions that you sent us like early. So I just thought about it probably about an hour ago, and my upbringing was a little different, right? I come from a matriarchal family, right?
Okay.
So tons of strong women, but strong men in my family also. But the men always played kind of like they were strong, but they were like the stable anchor. But women were always the driving force. So growing up, I was always attracted to a self-driven, intelligent, and kind of almost assertive woman, right? I actually had to grow into certain toxic traits, right? And there's a reason why I'm saying this, because I noticed that there's a flip side to every argument, right? Like growing up and being that person that is comfortable sometimes with the woman taking the lead, right? That is comfortable with, women, being assertive and doing certain things. I started to realize that there's another piece of the population that doesn't want that kind of man, right? And that sometimes women, and this is going to sound controversial, right? But in some instances, women wanted to be objectified, right? They wanted to be fawned over. They wanted to be treated like a princess, right? They wanted the man to do all the man's things, and they get to do the women's things or whatever. So I'm gonna tell you probably when I started not developing toxic habits, but the thing that could have sent me in the wrong direction, and I think you'll get a kick out of this one, Eddie, is hip hop. Right? When hip hop made that shift, remember, because we used to talk about Bonita Applebum and Queen this and Queen that, and then all of a sudden, man, it took a shift, right? And a shift that I don't think we've come back from yet, right? Like when you think about the hip hop videos and things of that nature, like, and back then I was heavy into hip hop. I was an MC and I was a producer, and I'm not gonna pretend like it didn't become a fantasy to be a person that had so much money and so much swag that these gorgeous women would throw themselves at me and literally just be my, playthings. That wasn't even who I was. That wasn't even the woman that I was attracted to. But the hypnotic nature of the culture made me desire that, right? So it was almost like, even though I didn't come up that way, I was being taught that, oh, okay, this is who I'm supposed to be. And man, if these women are responding to that kind of man, then maybe I need to be that person, right? Because I don't want to be the person that's just got to wait for somebody to approach me. I have to get out there and hunt also. You know what I mean? I think that's sometimes where it can get a little tricky because, as we're growing into this new space where we're trying to develop and we are trying to, we feel bad about the people that we were. I'm gonna go as far as to say it wasn't always just us that was condoning that behavior, right? Like sometimes, our counterparts were complicit in that also, and made us. They reinforced the behavior because if you weren't that guy, you were considered soft, or you were considered gay, or you were a sissy, right? They wanted you to be more manly and take charge. And why are you asking me, man? Just go and kiss me. All right, well then fine. So. It gets a little tricky, right? Like, so I had to go like this and then come back like, oh no, all right, we in 2020, me too. Like, no, you don't want to be that guy, So it's a balance, right?
I don't know if anyone else wanted to touch on that. And I'm with you, Isaac.
No, I want to say I feel Isaac completely. So in my family, the women, they ruled because it was majority women. We did have some strong men, but it just the women just outnumbered the men. Period. My grandmother was the head, all the way up until 103. She was Michael Corleone until she was 103. It was interesting when I came up. For me, things were quite confusing, and man. I learned that, okay, you're supposed to be a gentleman.
Right.
Ask, how are you? I'm a young kid. I like this girl, and this, that, and the third. Okay, so this is how you approach her, you know. And I would get dissed.
Right.
I would get dogged because of my complexion. I'm just gonna be real.
Mm-hmm.
I got dogged because of my complexion, and my last name is McDonald, so I got made fun of there. When I would approach on some gentle, "Hi, my name is Mark Quinn," and it'd be like, I would get the
you a lame.
You a lame. So the guy was always. It was when I got older. I went to this whole "Ayo baby," you know. And then I started trying that because I'm trying to get some play in. So I went to the "Ayo baby." I mean, my boy was on the front porch. "Ayo baby," hey, you know. And then we hear, "Hey, that's not how you do it." So we're like, man, what am I doing wrong? And then I found that there was a balance. There is, like I see one of the sisters said, there was a balance. It took me a minute to learn that, but like Isaac said, I had to do this. I was swaying back and forth, and it was because of the influences. Because of the influences. Oh, I see she like Ice Cube, so I need to come at her in that regard. But I see the sisters over here, they like Tribe. So I'm, hey, what's up, Queen? You know, and then what's up, sis? Hey, yo, baby. You know, it was like, well, what am I supposed to do? I remember I used to ask the question of, hey, you know, what are you doing Friday? Well, check it out. You mind if I come by and pick you up this, that, the third? And then I remember a sister telling me, don't say that. Just the minute you hear me say what I'm doing Friday, just be like, look, check this out. All right, cool. At 7 o'clock, I'm going to come by, pick you up. We're going to go ahead and get something to eat. And then after that, I'm going to take you to the movies. And then we're going to go ahead and boom, boom. And then I was like, does that work? I was like,
yeah.
That worked. So it was a balancing point. And I really didn't start learning how to really approach women until I got into older. I didn't learn how to really approach them and address them in a respectful, proper, and quote unquote manly way, if you will, until I got older. Because my wife, she definitely ain't the one. If I didn't come to her and be like, hey, we would not have been together, like for real. She's the one, like, you gonna talk to me and you gonna come to me in this regard in this way. So
you guys touched on something that was really key, and that has to do with kind of the shift in the music and what hip hop, what rap music rather, kind of created in the culture. Which actually created another culture. And I'm shifting gears right now just because we're here for a purpose. So, rape culture. Now, for African American women, sexual assault and violence are incredibly pervasive issues that routinely go unreported and underaddressed. Over 18% of African American women will be sexually assaulted in her lifetime. And unfortunately, this percentage only accounts for the number of women who report their abuse. In order to address the issue of sexual abuse against Black women, it is imperative that we look at the unique barriers faced by African American women on a political, economic, and cultural level. So again, I know that was a hard left right there, but I needed us to get together and really start bringing this issue to light. So that's real talk right there. I had one of the, probably about 30 minutes ago, I had one of the hardest conversations that I've had ever, with respect to this quote unquote rape culture. How do you guys perceive that? And what can we do better as men to address this?
If I may, thank you, Dre. Sister just said to us about a half hour, 45 minutes ago, we don't tell because cats don't believe us, or they don't do nothing, or nothing comes out of it. And that's like super duper real. And I've heard that so many times. And I've addressed it before, but my attitude is keep telling. Keep telling until somebody does something. I know of a sister, me and Q have heard this story. I had a sister who got assaulted by somebody in her neighborhood. And she went home and she told her uncles, told her dad, told her uncles, and they got together, just made her stay in the house. They went out and handled their biz. Nobody ever heard from the offending parties ever again, leaving it at that. When the sister realized that the situation had been handled, she said it smoothed out her trauma because she realized that somebody had her back and that they had handled the issue. And that's what has happened. It's not a culture if there's consequence. You know what I'm saying? The rape culture is not a culture if there's consequence. And we are not enforcing and inflicting enough consequence on in a lot of spaces, but in particular, this one. If a brother puts his hand on a woman in a obviously wrong way, then he should lose use of that hand. And then you'll see far less brothers putting their hands on women. And it's really that simple. We overcomplicate and we trying to, intellectualize this whole matter and make it feel good and sound good. No, break this mother hand and make sure that everybody knows this is what happens. But because of what we were just talking about with this music promoting this level of depravity in our community, we think that a lot of us have come to believe that it's okay or have been conditioned to believe that it's okay. But we got to be those of us who know that it's not okay. We have to enforce consequence. And it has to be public enough that cats say, I don't want to be that dude. I don't want to be that broke hand dude. I don't want to be that eunuch. I don't want to be that dude who disappeared that nobody heard from again. And until we are prepared to issue consequence, then it's going to continue to happen over and over again. And until sisters keep telling until somebody does something, then there's no consequence that happens.
So TJ, I want you to touch on that. Unmute your mic.
Break it down for me a little bit more. Like, what is it that you want me to kind of really speak to on that one?
So in terms of rape culture, how do we address that? And how do we really come to the table and just put it out there? What do we need to do in order to protect our sisters now? Because the word on the street is that black men are punks. We're not standing up for them. We're not doing nothing for them. Ain't nobody taking to the streets for them. What do you have to say to that?
I think I dropped off earlier when we were talking about, how do we define a man or what's manhood? But I really think we have to define what manhood is and be clear about that. What is our role? What are the principles and the value sets that guide our behavior, how we live our lives day to day, what our mission is, what our vision is, what our goals are, what we concern ourselves with. And then act accordingly. For some, manhood is sleeping with as many women as you can. For some, manhood is making women bow to the pressure of your will, and not just women, but anybody, right? How do you make people bow to your will in order for you to get the thing that you want? And if the thing that you want is sex, if it's money, if it's whatever, then some people feel like manhood or personhood is just getting that by any means necessary. So I think we have to really first, have some within ourselves as individuals, but definitely as a community, have a clear understanding what our principles are, right? Well, what our values are first, and then the principles come out of what we value, and then we got to hold one another accountable to that, and not be ones that say, well, that ain't my business. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what we all that ain't my house. Don't ever speak on what's going on in another man's household. Not recognizing that what goes on in that household, people come out that house and they carry with them the things that they have in their house out into the rest of the world. And then it starts to mix in and mingle in with everything else. And now we can create a reality based on things that we're unwilling to address. So I think that, do we value women? Right? And if we do, what is it that we value about them? Is it only in the ways in which they please us? Do the things that make us feel good, or is it about, the role that they play in humanity, in the world, in creation? Is it the balance that they bring? Is it the accountability that they bring? Is it all the gifts and the wonderful talents that they have, right? We need to be clear on who we are first, because if we don't know who we are, I think that's why hip hop was able to change, not just hip hop, but all music. Music will shape our actions and behaviors because it's communicating ideas and experiences that are giving us ideas about who we should be. And when you're not clear about who you are and who you should be, then anybody can influence you to be anything, depending on how good they are at being an influencer. You know how many times they play that thing, how many times that thing flick in your face, the colors that go. You know, it's a science to being able to make and manipulate minds, right? And the only people who do not fall victim to that are those who are strong enough mentally and spiritually, and who are grounded in the sense of self. And their relationship to the world that they exist in, where they're able to knock down what somebody puts upon them, and they stand up and be who they really are.
So let me pose this question to the room then. So you're innocent, you know, you and your boys hanging out, you know, y'all do a regular Friday night thing, go out, head out to I don't know, E2s or
20 years ago.
You know, I don't know, one of these clubs, but y'all hanging out, right? And you know, and talking or, you know, hanging out with your boys or whatever, and your boy haul off and smack a woman in front of you. So now, how do you address? That's an extreme situation, but how do you address that situation in that moment to where we are doing our duty and we're doing what we're supposed to do and protecting that sister? Dre, I see you got your hand up. You want to go ahead with that?
Yeah, I've had a few situations, not necessarily a slap situation I can think of in my head, because that's very traumatic to think about. But there is no answer other than you got to check them, whether it's physical or whether it's another kind of way. You got to check them, pull them out the room, and you got to holler at them, because that's wrong. That's flat out wrong. There is no excuse. There is no excuse. You have to be that person to step up and say that. Quinn knows for a fact. A few years ago, I was involved in a situation where I had to step up and address, you know, someone who was like a brother to me, you know, about something that happened. And that was a divide that still has not been repaired yet across the board. There's people that to this day that doesn't talk to me because of my stance, you know, and that's amazing in itself. But I say that to say that I've been in situations where, you know, I've had somebody address somebody and I, you know, say something to them like, hey, that's not a bitch, that's a woman, you know, whatever, you know, just in general, you know. But you have to be careful out here because number one, you don't know what the other person is doing in their mentality and what they want to do, because somebody can try to break up a fight and get killed, you know, just like that. You know, you gotta be careful about that physical part. You got to keep that in the back of your head at all times. And Quinn knows about that as well. I'm not a ninja. I can't do what Quinn can do, you know. but I have to be mindful about, you know, my place and my space. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, it's definitely hard. You gotta. If something like that happens where somebody actually puts hands on a woman, I feel you have no other choice but to put hands on them to pull them out of the situation and go from there, because it could escalate and you have to check it. You wrong. No matter what, you're wrong. You know, don't do that here. This is not the place. You know, when somebody goes and back and forth with an arguing situation, calling them out of names, pull them out. No, you're wrong. We cannot do this. We cannot do this. This is not what I'm about, and I can't be about it with you. You know, we got to address it. And of course, they might call you, you know, oh, you don't have my back, whatever the case may be. But I'm telling you, from somebody who sat there on the side of, like you said, that hard conversation, you know, it's something that you have to deal with, and we have to be, you know, strong about. And hopefully we have the people in our corner that can hold you up in the process and say, you know what, Dre, you did a good job. I support you, you know. And I did have that, luckily, because it was rough, you know, but it was hard, you know. But I'm still on that to this day. If I see somebody and I see, you know, a brother at, you know, someplace trying to, you know, spit game and press up on somebody and they look uncomfortable, you know, I would, you know, be that person to kind of like tap sister on the shoulder and be like, get her attention and be like, hey, you know, just to, you know, defer from the situation, because you have to be that person sometimes, because a woman feels scared about doing that because they get attacked for saying no. They get killed for saying no. You know, that's real.
I see. So, I'm looking at Isaac and I kind of see the gears moving. So I want to see what you had to say about that.
Man, okay, first and foremost, and you know, you never say never, but nobody that I consider a friend would ever do something like that, right? Like just because of what my energy is, and you know, I feel like I got a very discerning spirit where it repels people who are on certain things, right? So I was playing out the hypothetical, and I kind of shifted it a few different ways in my mind. I'm an incredibly protective person, right? Like it's the one thing that has existed in me since I was a child, where when I go dark, right? You know, like that space where I don't like the brother was just saying, like, what's ridiculous about me is I may not, you know, even have the physical acumen, you know, of others, but when I go dark, I will forget that, and I'm not even thinking about consequences, right? And so because I have a lot of women friends, there's a conversation that I have with the majority of my women friends, and I have to make certain that they understand exactly what it is that I'm about to tell them, right? Because there's a point where they enter into this realm of protection, and I let them know, listen, if we are ever out and about and something is going on, one, I want you to know that you are completely protected. As long as I am here, you are protected. And two, I don't care what the scenario is, but I need you to do me a favor. I need you to, one, attempt to see if you can de-escalate it on your own first, right? Because like you was just saying, like there are times where a situation could have just been like you walking through a club and somebody pinch you on the butt. Turn around and check dude first, right? But the moment that you feel that you either don't want to handle it or you can't handle it, and you come and you get me,
what?
I need you to understand that at that point it's now out of your hands, and
Look at the time.
my way, right? And the reason
it is time, bro. It says 03.
is because I need them to know that once I take it over, it's going to play out the way that it's going to play out. And so I need them to be responsible. I need them to be responsible because when you call me in, I'm the type that I'm going to take it all the way to the limit. And that's dead ass. Like I already know what my size is. So if I'm sizing dude up and I know he bigger than me, I've already scoped around and know how I need to put him down, right? Like, so because I'm that protective, I have to make certain that the people that are inside of this circle are responsible enough to, whereas, because I've been in situations where a woman will kick some stuff off, right? Knowing that the situation wasn't that big, but because they just want vengeance on this other guy. And I'm like, I'm not the guy to go back and forth and be put, like, when you call me in, I'm about to handle this situation, right? So it's like, and that's because my protective streak is so incredibly strong, right? Like, and I share that to share that that is not something that I can tolerate. Again, I come from a family full of strong women. Seeing a woman get hit, get abused, it does something visceral to me, to where I don't even know if I could walk down the street and see that happen. And I don't know if the universe has just protected me from seeing this kind of behavior, because it knows at that point, I don't think I will think rationally. I'll just react, right? Like, so that's what you saw, was just the discomfort inside of, one, imagining what friend of mine would even do that. Two, what would be the extremity that I would be willing to go to see to it that it didn't happen again, right? Like, just because that's just an area to me that is just not and I know stuff happens, right? But I can't even, in my mind, the only scenario I can imagine in my mind is if the woman was coming at him so much to whereas he really was self-defense, right? Because there are times where person's coming at you and they throwing stuff and they trying to stab you, and you just got to put a person down for a moment, right? Like, hold on, you know what I mean? Because now it's life or death. But if it's not that scenario, it's just she called him a name or it was an altercation and it got physical, like, yeah, like I don't friendships would end because of something like that. And that's just because of the space that I'm at. So it wouldn't even be about a checking. It would be about a, yo, I know I thought we were best friends, but clearly we're cut from a different cloth if you were capable of doing that, right? You know, so that's what you saw in my face, was me trying to figure out, like, yeah, pull somebody to the side and have a conversation. Like, sure. that ain't even how I roll.
So I want to share something with you guys, just real quick. Just give me one moment. Can you guys see that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I was wondering it's gonna show up today. Yeah. Yeah.
So let me take that back. So let me. So
throw her in the dumpster.
If you wasn't sure, they just threw that young lady in the dumpster. There was a couple of teen boys that did that and threw that young lady in the dumpster. So Q, I want to come to you with this because what does that look like? Because now that's somebody's daughter, that's somebody's niece. They're no relation to me, but when I see that, I'm enraged. I'm enraged. It's ridiculous. How do we go forward? How do we protect our women in a situation like that?
So, be clear, this is a serious topic for me. For those that know me on the panel, know this. It's a serious topic for me, and this is something that I address often. I agree, going back to what Kahari said, I agree that consequence has to be a part of the culture. The fact that they threw that sister in the dumpster is because, one, the culture that they're brought up in, from their household on up to like TJ said, even the media that's in their ears has taught them not to value her and that is okay. However, I was always taught the elders are the ones that are supposed to lead the youth. And that's in every regard, in every direction. So if I find some brothers that threw a sister in the dumpster, well, they need to get tossed in the dumpster. And it's as simple as that. And I say that plainly, and I'll say that in front of anybody. If that's what we're going to do, and we're going to throw her away, then you forfeit and we're going to throw you away. It has to be that way. And those who know me know that is, I'm serious about that. I teach self-defense. I host tactical classes. I have a women's group right now. A women's group. I got sisters that they joke and call themselves the Dora Milaje. They're training right now. Literally, their class is ending right now at the park on 39th and Cottage Grove. And the reason why I have a problem with saying this is because if you go over there, you'll see them ending right now with the other instructors. And every other Wednesday, we take them to the gun range. And though some people may disagree with this, no one has a right to put their hands on you. No one has the right to put their hands on me. And if anyone was to put their hands on my daughter or my children or any woman, and I know that it has to be addressed immediately. It has to be a culture. We have to get back to community and a village. Even if it's just us six right now, us six will lead that. Even if it's just us six. Oh, someone put their hand. Recently, someone threatened to put his hands on a young lady. Recently, and a group of brothers went to go pay the brother a visit. And from what I've heard, it's been peaceful ever since. She left the home. He's been real gentle with his approach. See, we're afraid of confrontation. And the first law of nature is self-preservation. That's on all levels. That's even village and community. And you cannot preserve what you are not willing to protect. See, we're afraid of confrontation. So, and the first law of nature is self-preservation. I don't know what it is. Somebody got an echo going.
I don't know where it's coming from either.
So, maybe the computer was giving me an amen. I don't know, but we got to get back to that even within the village. So even if it's just us six, and we made an agreement that these are the tenets. And these are the rules, and this is our ideology, our philosophy, and what we go by. Then that's what we implement. Because that's what's happening to us in the world. It's only a small group of men that's honestly running what's happening, and all they're doing is giving orders. That's what's happening in the world. That's what happens with any village. You usually have a council. Let me explain. Listen, the Italian mafia was a small group compared to the whole Italian population. And guess what? Go to Little Italy right now and let's break some windows. Ain't nobody that foolish. It's a cultural thing, and we dictate that. We establish that. We go ahead and rebuild and rebrand that, and we move forward. If you put your hands on our women, whether you one of us or not, it's going to be a consequence. Now, do we judge what level that goes? Of course. If it was, hey, they got into a shouting match, then we could be counselors to both parties. Brother, sister, listen. If it was a physical confrontation and it was, hey, they got into a real heated discussion, they may be inebriated and they got to grabbing on one another. That. If it was he just wanted to be abusive, then we know what level we need to take it. If it was he was threatening her life, we know what level we need to take it. And here's the thing, we have to be willing to take it there. Talking about it and giving lip service does nothing. The reason, if I told anybody on this panel or watching right now, hey, there go Mike Tyson, go up and slap him, they'll look at you like they crazy. And matter of fact, there's a story with the Locks.
The Locks.
When the Locks, I have to give it to the brothers. They said Mike Tyson was real greasy to Eve. And they was like, you know how Jada and how they talk, yo, he talking real greasy, yo. And they was like, yo, all right, he keep talking too greasy. We gonna have to poke him. They contemplate no stabbing Mike Tyson because they was like, you talking crazy to our girl. That's our girl right there. But here's the thing, though. They was reluctant. Now, I want to flip something. I love that, but they was reluctant. They was like, so who gonna poke him? The reason why is they know that Mike Tyson will knock your ass out. The fact of the matter is we got to have that same attitude without caring that we going to get knocked out. Listen, you don't put your hands on. And I guarantee you the women in your village are going to be like,
that's me.
Hey.
TJ, I know you wanted to ask something right there.
Yeah, I think the village concept is where that begins. You know what I'm saying? Like, without a village, it's going to be extremely hard to do any of the things that we are talking about. And what would really hit me during this time is interesting. I don't know if the world is really coming to the rescue of the black man. Like, they've been at war with the black man in particular. They're at war with black folks, but the black man is the first line of defense. And we have been undercut, assassinated, boxed in, belittled, eliminated from every single space that we have operated as our full selves in. We talked about the young men throwing a girl in the trash can. They learned that from somewhere, right? I'm upset with them, but I check my frustration with them because I understand, one, you still a shorty. You 16, 17, 14, 15, whatever. So you still a kid. And you're still moving off of influences of others. You haven't even got to the point where you really are able to check yourself unless it's been modeled for you. So my immediate thing is, well, where did you learn this from? And then you go back to the fact where you understand that most households don't have black men in the household. So you recognize that, one, it wasn't the woman that told her that, because a woman would never say, throw me in the garbage can, but it's the messages that are put out there in media, in all forms, that says that this is what you do. She a thotty, throw in the trash can after what you get from her, right? And that's not our message, but we've adopted that message as if it is ours. So Q saying us six can do it, us six can do it, but it's gonna have to grow. Or within us six, it can't just be on occasion, I'm gonna call T when I need something, or I'm gonna call Q when I need something. We have to really be in consistent communication, really be the village, however small that is, and begin to model the behavior in our small village so that others can see it and see the success that comes from that. But we cannot poo-poo the war that has been on black men. Every black man that you can think of, yo, that stood up in one of our friends' words, his proper polarity, gets attacked and then held up. When people get lynched and they get left on the trees for you to see. Don't do that no more, fam. If you value your life, don't step out there that way. Why not shorty hanging from that tree? And you see modern day lynchings all throughout this time. So it takes a different type of courage, a different type of spirituality, a different type of self-identity and purpose to really step out here and do that. And it's been done, but please understand, not for us, but others, the seriousness of this war that we are involved in and have been the targets of.
And I want to just say that it's being done. It's actually, and I'll let you have it, Kari. I just wanted to put out there that it's actually being done. I don't want anyone thinking that it's not being done. It may be small, but please believe that it's happening. I see the work that Andre does, TJ does, Kahari does, Isaac does. I see all the work that every brother in here does. Me and Precise just really met, but from the people that I know you, he's putting in work. Everybody is being done. I know it's not in a large scale, so it can seem like, oh, nothing's happening. But please believe it's being done.
Kahari, I know you wanted to add.
There's a lot of people.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but let me run this one video and then we'll come back. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, we're not doing this. We're doing this for him right now. Our lives matter. Black lives matter. Like trans lives matter. Trans lives matter. Because guess what? We all minorities, but right now, like, let's focus on the person who got killed. Tony McDade was a black trans man. Okay, we're not doing this. We're doing this for him. We're doing this for our brothers and our sisters who got shot, but we're doing this for every black person. Because at the end of the day, I cannot take my skin color off. I cannot mask this shit, okay? Everywhere I fucking go, I'm profiled whether I like it or not. Like, I'm looked at whether I like it or not. But right now, our lives matter. Black lives matter. Black.
So, and Kahari, I'm gonna definitely let you address that. That young sister was on the front lines fighting for us, and they found her dead like a week later from the hands of us, from the hands of her brother. So this is where we are right now, and it's kind of one of the things that kind of prompted me to have this conversation, because ain't no way that's supposed to happen. I'm tired of us looking like suckers, and I'll be damned if I continue to walk out here and my sister is giving me the side eye, thinking that I can't take care of her and I cannot protect her. Y'all talking about them consequences? I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. Kahari, go ahead and add on. I know you want to add on.
I mean that kind of added to my point. In small disagreements with my brother TJ, in that people from Chicago be like, only people from Chicago do that. Like, these dudes from Chicago act real funny, but they ain't never really been nowhere. Like, we as men ain't never been women that we can remember. So we don't know what women are going through. And women are, for the most part, going through the same things we are. They're the first line of defense because they have the children, and they are the first perception of what God looks like, right? For all of us, for both young boys and young girls, and so we don't really understand how much they actually go through, and vice versa. Black women are like, oh, black men never protect us, this, that, and other. They don't see the work we do because they're women. Right. They ain't never been men that they can remember.
Right.
One brother, I think it was a brother in the comments, said something to the point of we've got to fix the village first. And no, we don't. We have to raise ourselves as individuals to be headed toward our higher selves, like my man Howie is pushing right now. We have to push and direct ourselves to being our higher self so we can attract other brothers like us who ain't on the same kind, who ain't on the garbage that the masses are on. Me and Q talk on a regular, and we do things within the community because we talked about this is what we should do. We attracted each other, and we got a bunch of brothers on that same kind of page. If I put out a call to say, I need some brothers at blah, 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 blah for the blah, blah, I know who's going to show up. I know somebody's going to show up, and vice versa. It's never, and Q kind of touched on this, it's never a bunch of people. It's never been a bunch of people. It's small groups who are determined to make it right. And that's who we have to be. You and your crew have to be that person that whose light shines so bright that other people are just attracted to it because they feel that light, or they're rejected by it because they can't stand it. I don't have, like Isaac was saying earlier, I don't have no guys that I roll around with, like for real, that'll, we out one night, they drunk and pow, they'll smack some chick. It's not gonna happen. I don't even have to consider that when I'm going out. Like, oh man, crazy Terry might snap off. I ain't got that dude in my crew. Right. The guys I do have in my crew are the dudes, if we're out and we see an altercation happening, we engage. We don't think about it. We ain't got to talk about it. We'll strategize if we got time because everybody want to be Batman. You want to have that strategy time, but so if it's a moment, then we get on it. And yeah, it's only happening so often. It's only so much every one cell can do, but you got to do it. You got to show those consequences because otherwise it just continues to happen. Show no consequence and people ain't scared.
So I want to jump in real quick though, Eddie, because and it's, I was thinking about this earlier when you sent out a few of the questions, and even as we've been having this conversation, and I'm a butcher this a little bit because it's not a fully formulated thought, right? But one of the things that I attempt to do, it just in my own personal life, is I always try to challenge like a prevailing narrative, just to poke holes in it from a lot of different sides to see, is this really the fact, right? Because, like they say, men lie, women lie, but numbers don't, okay? And, we could talk about men not supporting and loving Black women and the whole nine, the same time that people could say that men, always love to, marry and date white women, right? But then when you actually break down the marriage statistics, it tells a different story, right? And that's when I start to challenge sometimes what becomes a popular theme to post on Facebook, what gets a lot of traction, right? Like if you are trying to assess culture by reading the comments on the internet, you are going to be a petrified individual, right? Because it's nothing but trolls on the internet. So when we talk about Black men not liking Black women, is it because you went on the shade room and there was a post that was read me intentionally to draw out the trolls, and then you saw a couple of people make a couple of misogynistic comments and they got a bunch of likes, and then right then it redefined something that was already internal in you that makes you feel like, yeah, Black men don't like Black women. But like here I've got 5 other brothers, all of us are hanging around other people that are like-minded individuals, right? And what I'm wondering sometimes is it the fact that we aren't in support of it, or is it the fact that, again, our branding hasn't been pushed out there in a way that the positive Black man narrative is trumping the Black man ain't shit narrative, right? Because that's going to always get more traction, right? I don't care if we create this movement and we push it. Our statistics could be 98% of Black men are really supporting black women. But if the 2% of black men that are out here, you know, just not doing what they should be doing is what gets the most likes, it's what gets the most shares, it's the most salacious type of information, then it's almost like, you know, we're hustling backwards and we're trying to prove ourselves.
I want to touch on that, Isaac, because that's very true. Everything that you're saying is true, but what happens is when that 2% gets amplified,
Right.
that's what's feeding the masses.
That's
Right.
Right. So people are consuming that, you know.
And so that's what I was saying. Like it's so because sometimes I'm like, okay, yeah. And I'm not saying that we don't, you can always dig deeper and you can always give more, right? Like regardless of how great we all are in our own individual spaces, I think we all dig deep and we recognize our shortcomings in areas where we could be better. But in terms of, because that was one of the questions that you asked, like, what is it that we need to do, you know, to make black women feel more protected? And my question is do we need to somehow figure out a cooler way to get ahead of the narrative so that that is what's being projected from our media resources? Because we all got these stories, man. Some of you guys was telling stories about how when a young lady told this, she knew who to tell it to, and them fellas went out there and they handled that. That story doesn't go viral. The story of the trashy guy happens, and then all the people that have trauma, they key into that, and then it reaffirms what it is that they're feeling, and then they push it out, and then you got this narrative that, yeah, black men don't support black women. And I'm like, I don't know if that's 100% accurate. And not saying we can't do better, but just saying that sometimes I feel like it's a branding issue. Like you guys said, we don't know what they're just like the celebrities that don't get on the front lines and say, hey, everybody, Black Lives Matter. But little did you know they gave $5 million and they've been bailing out all of these people or whatever. But because you didn't see it, it didn't exist, right? So it's kind of like if a tree falls in the forest and no one was there to hear it, did it make a sound? I kind of feel like that's what this is. Like, because we don't see the good things that we're doing, everybody assumes that it's not being done. And that's what I be wanting to challenge sometimes. It's just because then it makes it feel like, yeah, man, we ain't doing nothing and everybody ain't doing nothing. And what is it that we need to do? And I'm like, maybe this is marketing. Maybe this is clever marketing that we just haven't figured out. You know,
it's clearly
when somebody is doing good works, when it's really authentic, they're not thinking about recording that.
Exactly.
Or bragging. Yeah. You know, and if we talk about it, it looks like bragging.
Yeah.
Or it's been branded, as you were saying, Isaac, it's been branded as, oh, they bragging. You know, it's not it loses some of its authenticity. And because of what you said, I think that's by design. We're not supposed to tell our good deeds, but our bad deeds get plastered everywhere.
Why?
When we out there doing work, we're not doing it for accolades. We're doing work to get work done. And niggas just do shit.
Hold on, real quick. So one of those things that I'm trying to do through like my individual actions in the Smith Center is to highlight those things, highlight those stories, because everybody can't do it. Quinn, Kahari, you all do not do what you do for likes. You all do what you do because you have a passion and a purpose for it. Point blank, that's it. And people will, come around and see you do one thing. You might say one thing out of pocket, and then they jump down your back as if you're, disrespecting all women, whatever the case may be. So what I'm trying to do and what I have been pushing forward is those stories. I want to get those stories and push those stories. I want to tell those stories. I want to promote those good deeds and that good news to change the narrative. I'm a part of this organization called not the Young Kings Club, but it's an organization that basically is out there to Legacy of the King, Year of the King. And what we do is basically we promote positive imagery of black men. We promote positive energy of black people doing good things, of black men doing good things. We have to control the narrative. We have to push that narrative out. Like Harvey said, we have to let people know that we exist and this was going on. Not for the shine, but just to know. Because, for all the things that you just said positive that you do, all it takes is one negative post. And you know it, Kahari. All it takes is just one negative post from one person to say, oh, Kahari doesn't support me. And all of a sudden, you're going to have all these cosigns come out of nowhere talk about, oh yeah, where y'all come from? Where was y'all at when I was doing this? And y'all was doing this, and y'all seen me do this. And no, we have to be able to be there for each other and promote each other in this capacity. And that's what I push to do through the Smith Center, and that's what I'm pushing forward. That's why stuff like this has to be broadcast and supported for that reason, because we have to fight back like that.
And
You know,
I'm sorry, TJ. I'm sorry.
You know, like I was asking the question, why? You know, why is it that the negative stories get told? And it's because they fit the narrative that's already been established, right? Like the positive actions of the Black community, Black men in particular, that doesn't fit the narrative. So, you know, when somebody sees that, they automatically shun that. Oh, that ain't what that's not what we do around here. You know what I'm saying? That's not the expectation. They gotta go that much deeper to try to hold on and promote that story than just to go with a knee-jerk reaction that fits the narrative that they've been told and that we've all been told for centuries, right? So my brother said earlier about, our media, they ain't our media. Because if it was our media, they would represent us in a different way. Right. So it's a twofold game. It's an inside and outside game. We got to own our own and tell the story. Right. And hopefully we can't rely on this, but hopefully, because they're people of principle of all nationalities, of all ethnicities. Those people of principle, they got to step up and they got to hold their folks accountable so that they can come out of this psychosis that puts everybody else down so that they can be lifted up. And that's their responsibility, right? Our responsibility is to support and to model for them what it really is, but really hold our thing down. And we really have to get on that. I saw a comment where somebody said, the village is just rhetoric. It's rhetoric because the people in your community don't feel like they're connected. You know what I'm saying? Like if I don't feel like I'm a neighbor, if me and you don't chop it up, and I've been guilty of this at times. If I don't chop it up with you, if we don't feel connected, then why am I going to step up? I wouldn't, because there ain't no responsibility. There's no connectedness. There's nothing that I really feel for you because we have no relationship. But as soon as you have relationship, as soon as you engage in conversation, as soon as you just ask somebody their name and how they doing, that changes the whole dynamic. Oh man, I saw somebody was standing outside your house. So I saw your kid was going too far down the way just because we have conversation. And that's a very real thing. That's the whole purpose of Black Culture Week, to lift us up, to change that narrative, to show those models so that we can then create a reality that's reflective of who we really are, not the narrative that somebody gave us.
TJ, before you kind of drop that in there, actually, can you build on Black Culture Week? We're in the middle of it right now. If you can touch on that, since you just brought it up.
I mean, it starts tomorrow with Juneteenth. The theme for Black Culture Week is celebrate, commemorate, collaborate. So how do we celebrate Black culture and the people that create it? How do we commemorate our rituals and our traditions that show the best of us and lift up the values and principles that lend to our long-term sustainability? And then how do we collaborate to make new contributions to the culture? So, in this time of COVID, myself, the Black Mall, David Peterson with the 8th Philip Randolph Museum, Q. It's a whole bunch of people that I can run down the line are really trying to be responsible in how we, celebrate this piece. So tomorrow we're going to have a food giveaway. We got a citywide caravan. We got a virtual concert. You can go to Black Culture Week and check all these things out. And then next week, we got different panel discussions. Every day is a different theme. The first day is emancipation. The second day is freedom. Third day is love. A fourth day is unity. Then we move down into just the principles of Kwanzaa. Took the Kiswahili off for those who don't want to embrace that African component of it. To say it in English, right, but still act on the principle that sustains us. So it's a fun time. It's about celebrating and loving on us and modeling the best of us. So hopefully we can do that even more so all year round and not just over a 10-day period.
So Black Culture Week is amazing, and I'm glad you touched all those points. And really, just to kind of go back to one of the main points you made, and that's really controlling our media. So everything that he just mentioned, it should be on everybody's page. This is something we actually have control. So what happens is we put the onus on this media that reports us as if everybody doesn't own one of these. Everybody has a phone. We can do this. So we can reshape the narrative and how people view us and the truth about us basically by reporting it every day. So being just as diligent as Dre was saying, about showing the greatness in us as they are showing the negativity until we actually tip those scales.
Yes, indeed.
Can I speak on that real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Two things. One, with hearing T said someone said something about the Village's rhetoric. I don't know the full context of that comment, but I'm just going off of that. The Village's rhetoric, that is go into what I wanted to say about the media piece. We got to have some accountability as a people also. We, for too long, have allowed white companies, corporate entities, to dictate what our media is supposed to be, or what our imagery is projected to us. I'm sorry. If we was all together and thought about this, when I was younger, I used to think like, what is Dolores Tucker's problem? What is their issues? And now I'm starting to realize, as I get older, like, oh, they was right. Oh my God. Oh my God, they was right. And so the fact of the matter is that when we talk about, like, I know some people that we have conversations with friends of mine who don't believe in cancel culture, but some things need to be canceled. I'm sorry, Little Dirk, Little whoever, anybody else that's spitting all this madness about that's portrayed, that's being just projected on us like crazy. I'm sorry, it needs to be addressed. All of these things need to be addressed. In my personal opinion, here's my thing, and it's two things. You can't say on one end that, because I know some people have a problem with me saying that, because they'll be like, yo, that's their freedom, that's their artistry, that's the way they can spit, that's the way they're letting themselves out. I'm sorry, but it's also it's dangerous.
Q, there's a way for you to cancel the people, for you to cancel the message and not cancel the person. That's my only thing, bro.
I'm talking about canceling the message. But I'm talking about canceling the message. I'm saying that the message, but honestly though, it's twofold. You can't not cancel the message without someone canceling the person also too. For example, when we talk about R. Kelly, he had to get canceled. And I don't listen to his music. I don't support nothing about him. Now people can. He can't get no play from me. He can't.
I guess for me, it's just, you can act in love and still, quote unquote, in that moment cancel somebody, but you're really not canceling them. What you're doing is holding them accountable to the larger collective. So hold on, young bro, that ain't like, so if you do this in class, you do this in class all the time, right? If you got students, sitting up ready to do their thing, and you got one young man or one young lady that's just wilding out and ain't ready to get down with how you want to get down, you don't cancel them. You check them, right, in a respectful manner. You approach them in a way and say, hey, that's not appropriate right now. And actually what you're doing is putting yourself at greater risk. So I can't allow you to do this right now, but please know that I still love you and I still want you to be a part, but this isn't appropriate in this moment. Let me show you a better way. You do that all the time.
That to me is canceling the behavior or canceling the message.
Yeah, I cancel culture don't give no care. They care less. Cut, you gone. They dismiss you in my estimation.
That's exactly what it is.
No, you know what I'm saying? And they throw you away.
I got you. My point,
irredeemable.
So I got you. So my point is that it needs to be addressed. It has to be addressed. Like it just does. We can't say we talking about protecting black women, right? We can't say that we're willing to protect black women about someone that's going to address them physically and put their hands on them, and not protect black women and address those who projecting images of that devalue them as well. We can't say that we're not willing to do that because it also devalues us. We can't. So my whole point is that something has to be addressed. You get what I'm saying? You gotta. It all has to be addressed, and we all have to take some form of accountability for it. What part did I play? Like I said, it's an individual thing. Now, so my point is that I hope that all of us are looking within inside self and not externally at what are they doing? What are y'all doing? Because I also see some comments that look like, well, y'all, what are y'all? But no, also, how do I play a role in this?
Right.
How do I play a role in this?
So like just to tap into that though, right? Because I agree basically wholeheartedly with what you're saying, but in terms of the approach of whether or not we go about canceling them, I'm gonna tell you why I think that that's dangerous. No. I hear what you're saying, but I'm talking about in terms of the mentality of because we talked about marketing and branding, right? Like there's a reason of why I keep coming back to this, because I feel like what we need to do is make what it is that we're doing cool, right? Because in life there's always an option. It's just like with Matrix, you know what I'm saying? Like free will has to exist. You know what I mean? Like, so the moment that you say, okay, we're going to enforce right by taking away the other option. No, the other option has to exist. We just have to make what it is that we're doing more enticing, right? And here's what's interesting is that this is why I talk about the reality of what's on the ground and how the numbers sometimes painting a different picture is there are actually more of us than there are of them, right? Like even just when you think about the way that everything kicked off with the protests regarding George Floyd, there were hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that were out there that were protesting peacefully, right? You get a small percentage of a percentage that are doing other things, and then somehow they are able to control the narrative, right? And it's like, but the reality of what truth is that everybody else was doing something different, right? So what we have to do is, sometimes I feel like people that have figured out the secret or that are living life in a way that is in accordance with some of our higher ideals. I'll give you an example. You ever notice how people that really got money aren't the ones that are on Instagram with the stacks of money up to their ear, right?
Yes.
People that are really happy in their relationships aren't the ones that are posting them on social media, right? So sometimes happiness is a quiet thing, and other people that want to project happiness or project success that aren't really successful are the ones that are the loudest, right? So somehow they control the narrative. And what I'm getting at is that maybe the solution is that some of us that are quiet with our happiness, we need to try to figure out a way to make our brand of happiness a little more public, right? And that's going to be uncomfortable for many of us, because when you are satisfied and you are satiated, you don't feel the need to seek attention. But in our absence, especially in this social media driven environment, right? When you have these individuals that are lost, that are searching for different ways, the only people that they are able to pull from are those that are projecting success and those that are pretending to have all the answers, and they really don't, right? So really what it comes down to is we're going to have to figure out a way of how to balance not becoming a social media whore, right? And just, prostituting yourself out there like, hey, everybody, look at everything that I'm doing. But we have to figure out, how do we give back in a way that's not only substantive, but that can gain attention and gain the same type of notoriety that they are getting, right? Because that's the question. This is a branding issue, right? So like, you can't say don't listen to Little Durk. We need to be making better music than he's making, so that the person that wants to consume content is high quality content. Because sometimes the people that are doing the good stuff, it don't always seem to hit as hard as the ratchet stuff does. They don't get the same producers, right? They don't care as much, right? Because it's hard to be hungry on a full stomach. We have to figure out, how do we get our message out there in a way that's connecting with people. And there are some people that have figured out how to do it. We just all have to be, I think, a little bit more.
So thank you for that. One of the ways that I think is what we're doing right now, and we're going to wrap up now. I really, really appreciate all of you for joining us and sharing your insight. Again, one of the main reasons why I brought all of these great minds together is so that we can show you what a caring Black man looks like. And hopefully we were able to show you that. And hopefully we are able to really create the narrative that we want to see. So everybody who's watching this, share this with your people. Share this video with a Black man. And this message specific, and I want to go like on a round table, just give everybody a moment to speak to the people, but specifically the Black women. So to the Black woman, We are here for you. I'm here for you. You have no reason to fear me. I'm here to protect you. Know that clearly, unequivocally, that we are here for you and we're here to build great families and take this thing to the next level. Dre, you want to go next?
Yeah, just to basically, mirror your thoughts, raised by my grandma, 100%, so I have no other choice but to, be the person that she raised me to be, which is to be respectful, which is to be honorable, which is to be protected, which is to be everything and all of that. This is my life. This is my destiny. This is what I do. And to be in a circle with certain people, I know I'm in the right place. I know I'm in the right place because I know Quinn, I know Kahari, I know TJ. I just met Isaac, but I seen you and I respect what you do. So, I know you as well. And of course, Lamar, we had that beautiful moment with the kids at the school, so where my heart is at. And people who know me know where my heart is at. So all I have to do is just try to, like I said, change the narrative and do my part to let to let the women out there know that these brothers and brothers like them are out here. We do exist, and we are out here. Plain and simple. We're gonna tip the scales. Bottom line, and that's from a Libra. We're gonna tip those scales.
Go ahead, Isaac.
You know what? I'll begin, especially since this message is to Black women, by also echoing your sentiments. Black women, I love you unequivocally. You are valuable purely because you exist, and if anyone ever makes you question that, they are not the person that you need to be around. When it comes to building up a Black man, we appreciate and we love your support, and continue to love and support us, because it is the lifeblood and it is everything that makes us who we are. But we don't need you to build us up. That is our job, to build up one another, right? And the reason I say that is because I feel like you all have taken on this pressure that is, and you all are bearing a cross that is not your cross to bear. You already see by the other 5 brothers that I'm on this panel with that there are a lot of good brothers out here that we understand the issue, and we are out here and we are working. I don't want you all to bear that burden. I just want you all to understand that if you are around someone that is not making you feel appreciated, that it is within your right to say that I deserve better, because that is what you have to hold on first, is understand that you deserve better, that you have to command that respect and be willing to leave that person and not deal with anyone until someone crosses that bar that makes you feel valued the way that you are. Let us handle them. Let us handle them. Don't you try to convince them of your worth, because you're valuable. And that's the only thing I can say.
TJ.
I was trying to think about what I wanted to say. I just think very simply is that speaking to Black women, I love you. I value you. My whole life, I have a strong mother, and she's smart, she's capable, and all her friends are the same. So I am used to adoring, being loved by, and loving on strong Black women, and I seek to be the best man that I could be, that works in cooperation with you as we live in this world and play our role, or live our roles out rather accordingly. Y'all lift up the world. Y'all give birth to all life. You're the nurturers. Kahari said earlier that they are the first line of protection. If nurturing is the first line of protection, I agree wholeheartedly. I believe as a man that I'm built in a way that means while you're nurturing, I need to be, holding down the boundary to make sure that nothing can get inside to disrupt what we have going on. So we're here for you. And the work that I seek to do, I seek to love you better by loving myself better, by being a better me. And hopefully that will allow me to be a better me for you. So thank you. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for loving on us. And just thank you for being you.
Kahari, it's on you.
we love you, we value you, we respect you, and we are there for you. And if the one you with ain't listening, tell us. Tell us, because we are here to work for you. You make our community and our culture exist. So it's our duty to make sure you all right. Be the best you can be and know that we got you. And that's it.
Q, you closing us out, man.
Yes, sir. Black woman, you are loved. Understand that you are loved, you are appreciated, you are respected, you are valued, you are seen, and you are heard. You deserve love. You deserve all the blessings in the world. You are the very first thing that we see when we are born. Without you, none of us would exist. No one on this planet. Plain and simple. Our existence is because of you. Our existence. So, I just want to say, if you aren't feeling protected, like Kahari said, reach out to us. Know that these 6 brothers here is proof positive. We are here for you. If you need a sounding board, you need someone to listen, you need those ears. That's what we're here for. You need help with whatever. That's what we're here for. We are the village. This starts here. Okay? It starts here. And please know that you are everything. And without you, I know that I wouldn't be him. Like TJ said, my mother's strong. His mother's strong. Everyone in his mother is strong. I have a beautiful wife and 3 powerful daughters. And I mean powerful because they ain't no joke. And all I see in them is life. That's all that's all I see in them is life. And so with that being said, please know that without you, there is no us. And if you ever need us, we will be there.
All right. So, brothers, thank you guys so much for coming out. Everyone who's watching on YouTube, on Facebook, on Periscope, on Twitter, thank you so much. If this is a conversation that you would like to see more of, please send us inboxes, and you can find us all on Facebook and all the social media. Thank you so much.
Thank you for doing this, man.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll be doing this. I'll be taking this to elsewhere. Thank you.
Hey, y'all stay on for a second after we get off the show.
All right.
Can we do that?